and getting local authorities to, take the responsibilities that they should do. I don't want to go into it too much.
왼쪽 도로입니다.
See how far we can go with it, but I call this, I've just written a paper that I've sent to Minister Gould because I attended one of the SEN engagements that they're currently doing. And there was nothing new that came out of this when we're thinking about the new white paper, because obviously we know that the costs are rapidly rising and we have a huge issue and a deficit pot. But the issue is not SEN children. The issue is that we've got this middle category of SEN children, what I would call neurotypical presenting children, autism and ADHD, who have high cognitive abilities but can't cope in the high arousal mainstream schools. Very few local authorities have secondary schools that offer GCSEs, and so it's not through parents' choice that they want to go to these private schools. It's because the local authorities are failing time and time again to offer low arousal SEN schools for high functioning, high cognitive ability children, or they just don't believe that any SEN child is capable of achieving a GCSE.
What needs to change?
We need to offer provision for children who are of high ability, low arousal, what we call a positive behaviour solution approach. There's no detention, there's no shouting, there's no punishment. Everything is discussed through emotional basis.
오른쪽 도로입니다. 이어서 오른쪽에 고속도로 출구입니다.
What we call school refusers or school avoiders ended up back in school and were able to
오른쪽에 고속도로 출구입니다.
If local authorities don't do this, nobody chooses to send their child miles away to school and put them in a taxi where they're nowhere near home. It is because there is nothing there.
A child with SEN, what does she experience if they use, I'm going to call regular transport, public transport, get something else?
Okay, I'll give you a typical example. My 15-year-old daughter, who's at school in Westminster, because I live in the suburb. This morning, she had a complete breakdown, and by the way, she's in quite, high set. She's doing well, but every morning we have a battle. Mummy, please, I hate it. Mummy, I can't cope. The pressure of it. Mummy, my belly hurts. Mummy, please. So this morning, we had to get up and take her to school. Now, I have had to leave my
전방에 회전 교차로입니다.
because my child suffered through the system, and I couldn't commit the hours I needed to be a Senko, an assistant principal, and a SEN parent. So I gave up work, and now I run this. I work it around my children's needs. If I didn't do that, I would have sent my child to school today completely dysregulated, and I suppose after years and years of doing that,
출구입니다.
one might just say, actually, I'll just give up. I'm not going to argue with her anymore. She's devastated, and that's how we see children become school avoiders.
Do you think, lastly, the experience you have, is there a level of abuse of the scheme?
Absolutely not. The law is the law. Nobody chooses this stuff. And I'll give you two facts, statistics that I think are really key to this, okay? Nick, in 23-24 and in 22-23, the tribunals heard
직진입니다.
over £99 million on both years consecutively of appeals from parents. Guess how many appeals the local authorities won?
5%.
2%. And that is because local authorities have a flagrant disregard for what the law states. And until they do better and build schools that are capable to cope with high academic children who have low abilities, and by the way, Nick, the figure that we have, the statistic of 30% of adults with autism working feeds right into this.
Must go to get other people involved. Thank you, Sonny. 145,000. Of course, I said 3,000 children on the school. It was about 13 weeks ago. I think so. 14. That's vast. Sarah's in Worcester. Sarah on the radio. Good morning.
Good morning. It's probably going to be an unpopular opinion, but it's Motability cars for me. I just think there's got to be something that if you're within a reasonable range and you have a Motability car, you must take your kid to school themselves.
전방에 회전 교차로입니다. 출구입니다.
If you look at the case of Vicky, who does not have a Motability car, but she's driving to London to Canterbury, she's doing 60 miles there and 60 miles back.
잠시 후
that's a heck of a
우회전입니다.
drive for them, isn't it?
It is, and and that's, this is what I said, it's like an unpopular opinion, and it's got to be one or the other. And in her case, that's great. She hasn't got the Motability car and is still taking,
우회전입니다.
yeah. So it's one or the other. And I worked for a company, I worked for Motability as well, and the amount of people that I get, I rang an old lady once and said, can you book your Motability car? And she said, oh, my granddaughter's got it, and she's in a different town. And it's just like, it happens all the time. I put people in for their services and through Motability, and it doesn't always ring true.
Grateful for your input on that, Sarah. Only finishing because I've got about a minute and a bit. Thank you, Sarah. I want to go back to the conversation we were having about Reform UK. Lisa Nander's view that the party leader, is a fascist. Joe's in Tooting. A lot of people talking about a current political desert. Do you subscribe to that view yourself? Good morning.
Good morning, mate. I don't think we actually had so much choice in our history. I've been voting for the last 40 odd years. I've never seen, we've got more parties on the left than we've ever had. We've got more parties on the right than we've ever had. I think what people actually lamented is the fact that the mainstream parties,
목적지 부근입니다. 안내를 종료합니다.
not going to get in. It's not their representation, so therefore it's no longer for them. But it's not a case that we don't have that choice. It's a case that we need to reform our electoral system to reflect the fact that we don't look to have a two-party system set up.